Part 2 of the Watervalsrivier Pass covers the section from the 12th to the 20th kilometer and includes the summit viewpoint. If you intend driving this pass, it's important to watch Part 1 first, which contains important safety, historical and tourism information. Immediately after the first hairpin bend, as elevation is gained, there's a good view to the left where the road which you have just driven up can be seen lower down. A short straight follows with a single S-curve, which is followed by a double apex right-hand bend at the 12.8 kilometer point. Each of these bends has a turning radius of 90 degrees, separated by a short straight of 300 meters. The first of these two bends is particularly tricky, and the many gouges in the tarmac and bent guardrails bear testimony as to how many drivers get caught unawares here. The road now heads into the southwest for the next 1.5 kilometers, climbing at a steady rate. The second hairpin bend occurs at the 14.7 kilometer mark and also turns through 170 degrees to the left, but the radius is considerably wider than the first one. In the mid-1800s, the early Transvaalers attempted to find a route to Delagoa Bay in Mozambique and a port free of British control. Alluvial gold was discovered in the district by several prospectors on the 6th of February 1873, and the Lydenburg goldfields were proclaimed 3 months later. Amongst the first finds were 2 large nuggets named Emma and Adeliza, and both were bought by President T.F. Burgers. The gravels of the Spekboom River are still being washed for alluvial gold today. A British garrison under Lieutenant W.H. Long was stationed at Lydenburg during the Transvaal's First War against Britain during 1880 and 1881. They built a small fort named Mary after the commanding officer's wife. It was from this fort that Lieutenant Anstruther and the 94th Regiment marched to Pretoria to join the main British forces there, but they never reached their destination. This is the view from the first of 2 viewpoints near the 1,621 meter high summit point. Both of the view sites, which are fairly close together, are only accessible to southbound traffic, but you will need to know where it is ahead of arriving there, as it appears suddenly, and if you're not prepared for the turn to the left, you'll easily miss it. Also indicate your intention early to slow down and turn left to vehicles following close behind you, as they might well not expect you to brake suddenly for the turn. The first view site is the bigger of the two and can accommodate about 4 vehicles and offers sweeping views of a huge valley peppered with isolated trees and grasslands. The view stretches all the way to Lydenburg. After the view site, the road curves through an easy S-bend and the Oppeberg restaurant and lodge appears on the right. There are another 2 easy S-bends that follow the restaurant, which brings the end of the pass into sight at the 19.6 kilometer point at an altitude of 1,452 meters. Continue for a further 14 kilometers to reach Lydenburg. At the time of filming in April 2018, the R37 closer to Lydenburg was not in a good shape with a multitude of potholes. When you see approaching vehicles suddenly swerving onto the wrong side of the road, it's more than likely that they're trying to avoid the potholes. Be particularly aware of this if you are trying to overtake, as drivers tend to become over-focused on the potholes and might not be aware of you overtaking them. There are also often traffic control checks along this stretch into Lydenburg, and because the road is quite old and battered, the barrier lines are badly faded and sometimes invisible. Speed bumps near Lydenburg are also not painted, so slow right down and keep a watch out for them. You could severely damage your vehicle's suspension hitting a speed bump at 80 kilometers per hour. The condition of the roads within the town are terrible, so drive slowly and with the utmost caution. The Dutch Reformed Church is well worth a visit in Lydenburg and is in an excellent condition and well maintained. Going back in history to the First Anglo-Boer War, the British garrison at Lydenburg were besieged in the front in a manner that suggested that neither side really wanted a war. To counter the 2 small field guns used by the Transvaalers, the British fashioned a gun of their own from a water barrel of a water pump, which managed to hurl cannonballs of 1 kilogram at the enemy. After the war, the fort fell into a state of dilapidation, and in 1889 some of its stones were used to build a powder magazine, which still stands today. The region around Lydenburg spawns a large number of nature reserves, which include the Gustav Klingbeil, Sterkspruit, Makobulan, Kudu and Mount Anderson nature reserves. Besides mining, farming and tourism, Lydenburg is also the hub of the fly fishing region.